What's up everyone, James here, and we are back with the end of King Grimlock, where he will be battling the god of the sun, Soltron. If you're wondering why I didn't say the golden one, you'll find out soon. So we begin right where we left off in the last video, with Arco joining the golden one. Now that she's joined him, the golden one bestows her with a portion of his power. However, he tells her she must sacrifice something to make up for her past sins, being a former worshiper of the anti-sun. As this is going on, we see a glass container of what is Soltron's energon. The golden one asks Arco what she will sacrifice. Arco answers, "I will sacrifice Grimlock." From here, we go to Grimlock. After helping the Glorians reclaim the Red Wizard's Keep, he inspects the Quintesson judge's body. He realizes this energon of Soltron coming out of the judge's body isn't normal energon. It's more than that. And at that moment, the energon attacks him, and Grimlock mentions that the energon wants to consume him. He transforms and destroys it with his Nova Flame. Shout out to those who commented in the last video where that's from. Now, I kind of lied to you guys in the last video because I was trying to throw you all off. I said that the Quintesson judge said to Grimlock he won't be enough for the golden one. But that actually isn't who he was referring to, and that's not the only thing he said. After he said Soltron's blood is spread throughout all of Menonia, and that he would have defeated the golden one if it wasn't for Grimlock, he also said, "Unlike the golden one, I would not have fallen prey against him. You will not be enough." The him he was referring to is Soltron himself. So what this reveals is the golden one, who was once the hero of this world, didn't decide to become evil one day out of the blue. He was truly corrupted by the source of his power. Later, this is what Grimlock reveals to the Menonians, that the blood of Soltron, in his words, is poison, and tells them it's going to take all of them together to defeat the golden one. The elder of the Inglorians, Neria, tells Arnak that though his people may have spent their sorcerer's fuel to bring Grimlock to Menonia, her people still have plenty of theirs to use against the golden one. Grimlock overhears this and says that it's great news, because the people of Menonia have to do something that he can't. What that is, we'll find out in a bit. The next day, Grimlock shows up at the bridge to the golden one's tower, ready to fight. The golden one answers his call to fight with a whole host of these beasts he's created. One of them here looks like Goro from Mortal Kombat, just without the 4 arms. Clada, leading this host, introduces himself to Grimlock, and he basically tells Grimlock to submit to the golden one. Grimlock notices Arco alongside the golden one, and he accuses Clada and the golden one of tricking her and corrupting her to their side. But Clada tells him they didn't have to because the golden one is destined to rule this world. Grimlock says the golden one is no king, only sick and cruel, and Grimlock crushes cruel. Clada replies, "I see. Shall I relay that to my master?" Grimlock says, "No need," and front kicks Clada right in the face and says, "Who else wants talk?" The final battle for Menonia begins. Though the Golden One's forces are able to catch Grimlock off guard and disarm him, that doesn't stop him. He starts going to work on them. He headbutts one of the Cyclops and then takes another one by the legs and uses his body to bash through the Golden One's army and then launches him into them. Say what you want about this series, but you have to admit Grimlock's fights are awesome. As that's going on, Arnak and Neria are using their sorcerer's fuel to summon a solar eclipse to block out the golden one's connection to the sun in order to weaken his power. So if you don't know what exactly a solar eclipse is, it's what happens when the moon passes between the sun and whatever planet it's orbiting. In our case, it would be Earth. But this right here is what the Menonians have been worshipping as the anti-sun, the moon itself. This pisses off the golden one. He transforms into his dragon form and flies onto the battlefield. And once he reaches the battlefield, he grabs Grimlock and bites into Grimlock with his teeth that are strong enough to pierce through his frame. Grimlock says, "Good bite, bird, but you should have bit the head." Now Grimlock bite back. Grimlock transforms and bites the Golden One right back. They both crash land. Grimlock informs the Golden One that he knows the truth. He knows that he is a puppet of Soltron, that he's been corrupted by this entity, and urges the Golden One to fight back against his control. The Golden One tells him he cannot face the power of Soltron. Suddenly, Soltron himself speaks through the Golden One. He tells Grimlock he knows his game. He cannot goad him out of the Golden One. He owns his body and has been in Menonia for generations. The Golden One then speaks to Grimlock, admitting to him that though Soltron gave him the power to save Menonia at one point, throughout all the years since then, he has been whispering in his ear, slowly taking control, and he's tired of suffering. Soltron takes full control of the Golden One's body at that moment, unleashing his power. He says to Grimlock, "You dare challenge the god of the sun itself. I did fear your arrival, but now look at you, a straw in a hurricane. I am a force of nature. You think you can cleanse me from this world, this body?" Grimlock replies with the most badass response, "I'll keep fighting until I'm nothing but circuits and servos for you to choke on." The Golden One, inspired by Grimlock's defiance in the face of Soltron's overwhelming power, uses the last of his power and will to expel Soltron from his body. An explosion of magic occurs, and we then see Soltron's true form. I really like this image here of Soltron's true form. As the Golden One lays dying, he thanks Grimlock for giving him the strength to free himself. Grimlock honors his death, but unbeknownst to him and Arco, who's watched all this unfold from the Golden One's tower, Soltron isn't gone. He speaks to Arco, and she initially refuses to be taken control of like the Golden One, but Soltron tells her she will become an avatar of his because she's afraid of not being strong enough, and only his power will quiet that fear. Arco ends up accepting his power. Soltron takes control of her and clads her with even more magical armor. Grimlock now has to battle his former student. As that madness is going on, Arnak and Neria are trying to maintain this eclipse long enough for Grimlock to defeat Soltron. But the worry here is the stress of the spell is putting on their bodies will cause them to give out before then. Grimlock in his Dino mode is facing off against Soltron, demanding he free Arco from his control. He tries to blast Soltron, but he deflects it and lets loose even more of his power. He tells Grimlock Arco accepted him willingly, and reminds him if he hurts him, then he hurts Arco as well. But that isn't going to stop Grimlock. He says Arco doesn't fear pain and hits Soltron with his tail, but Soltron grabs his tail and slams him into the ground. He mentions to Grimlock he knows he isn't using his full strength. And this is true, because even when Grimlock has his blaster pointed directly at Arco's body, he doesn't take the shot. Instead, he drops it and offers Soltron his body to be a host. He tells Soltron that he'll let him take control of his body and show him the universe if he leaves Menonia and promises to never return. Soltron accepts Grimlock's offer and enters his body, but the Sun God soon realizes Grimlock tricked him when he sees that he's in a strange metaphysical realm. Grimlock reveals himself and tells Soltron that he wasn't lying about showing him the universe, he just didn't say which one. He reveals to Soltron that they're in his spark, his own personal universe. Is it a little bit hand-wavy? Yes, but what happens next is badass. Grimlock tells Soltron, "I'm going to show you my universe." He whips out his Energon sword and strikes Soltron. Now, why Soltron uses the Autobot insignia as his own personal sigil gets revealed here, because as the fight is going back and forth, Grimlock accuses Soltron of stealing the Autobot symbol to hide his true face, but Soltron reveals he took it in order for it to be easier for him to take control of Menonia and its people, since it was seen as a symbol for good, because as we know, Optimus Prime once saved the people of Menonia in the past. Now, once Soltron gains the upper hand in this fight, he tells Grimlock after he takes control of his body, he'll use his face next to oppress Menonia. This enrages Grimlock. He grips Soltron and says, "Out there, you Soltron God, but in here, me Grimlock King." He rips the skin off Soltron's body. His own golden light explodes, enveloping his skeleton body, cursing Grimlock as he dies. Grimlock then awakens in the real world and is met by Arco. Sometime later, she asks him why he would save her when she did accept Soltron's power. Grimlock tells her it was his fault and admits that he taught her wrong when it comes to the meaning of true strength. He says it's wrong for the strong to fight people's battles for them, but it's cowardly to not fight with them. And I love this a lot because it shows that Grimlock as a character has grown, and he's not afraid to admit when he was wrong and learn from his mistakes and move on. They both discover Arnak is severely weakened after holding the Eclipse spell for so long. Arnak tells Grimlock now that Soltron is gone, his blood that fueled their sorcerer's fuel is also gone with him. He has no way of conjuring the spell that would return him to Cybertron. He asks Grimlock if he would lead his people for him, since he can't anymore. Grimlock answers that he's come to like Menonia and doesn't want to go back to soft Cybertron, but says they don't need him. He wouldn't have won against Soltron without their help, and if they want a leader, they already have one, Arco. Arco, shocked at the suggestion, argues she abandoned her people and they'll never trust her. Grimlock tells her in time she'll earn their trust. He says strong people crush their mistakes and their past. Be a leader to your people, and together conquer the future. Sometime later, Grimlock and Arco, now the Queen of Menonia, stand in front of a portal. We learn through their conversation that they were able to conjure this portal using a fraction of Grimlock's spark. They say their goodbyes, and Arco says to Grimlock, "You have the thanks of your terrible student." Grimlock replies, "Terrible? That is the best kind of student, angry Arco. That's the only good kind." At that moment, Grimlock gets pulled through the portal by Optimus Prime. Optimus points out how he looks like he's been through war, which confuses him since from his perspective, Grimlock has only been gone for a few nanoseconds. Grimlock reveals that he's spent cycles in Menonia and tells him about his adventure there. He admits to Optimus that he was right about being merciful is a sign of true strength. Optimus says, "I don't know what to say, but I welcome you back home, Grimlock, a friend, a fellow warrior, and above all, a true king." And that is the end of King Grimlock. I hope you all enjoyed this series. Look, is it one of the greatest series? No, not at all. But I think it was a short, fun story that literally took one episode of the original series and yet still managed to create a mostly original, unique story. The next series we're going to return to and finish is the Autobot Samurai Drift, and then we'll begin ROM versus the Transformers. Other than that, please hit that like button, consider becoming a channel member, subscribe if you are new here, and always remember every day to transform and go beyond. See you later, Beyonders.